Creating the Jaegers from Pacific Rim was an incredibly complex process, which involved a combination of cutting-edge CGI, meticulous design, in addition to its careful integration with live-action footage. The director of the film worked closely with the VFX team, led by Industrial Light and Magic, or ILM, to bring these massive robots to life with a sense of scale and realism. And some of the challenges kept VFX artists and animators awake at night because they were so complicated. In fact, two 3D modeling artists spent more than a year modeling just one Jaeger. So the question now is, why creating these giant robots was so complicated and why it took so much time? Before doing anything, the first step was conceptual design. So artists and designers at ILM crafted detailed concepts for each Jaeger, considering the unique characteristics, cultural influence, and the combat style of each one. If you have seen the film, each Jaeger comes from a certain country, and it has its own characteristics in addition to its points of strength and weaknesses. This stage of design and conceptualization involved extensive research into real-world machinery, also construction equipment and military vehicles to ensure the Jaegers felt grounded despite their colossal size. And each Jaeger needed to have its own personality, which was expressed through visual details such as textures, materials, modeling details, fighting style, animation, and a lot of other stuff. And once the designs were locked in, the next phase was building the 3D models. ILM used powerful 3D software such as Maya and ZBrush to create the highly detailed digital models of the Jaegers. And these models had to be incredibly intricate to hold up during close-ups, with individual panels, gears, and mechanical parts modeled and textured down to the smallest detail. And they were built with immense attention to how light would interact with different materials like metal and rust, adding to the realism. One of the challenges they faced was the sheer scale of these humongous machines. To put this into perspective, one artist from the modeling team took an arm of the Jaeger and put a 6 feet tall human on top of his shoulder. At this moment, the team realized how much detail is required and needed, especially for close-up shots. At the same time, it all had to make sense. ILM, the main VFX studio working on the Pacific Rim, pushed themselves to the limit to create the best Jaegers ever created. For example, the Gypsy Jaeger required two of the best ILM modeling artists working over a year full-time to finish it. During that time, they used every skill they learned over the years to pull it off. To make it even harder,
that's what she said!
The finished Jaeger went through different stages during the film. So during and after the battles, it received different degrees of damage. This meant that the geometry of the model, of the Jaeger, had to take a different form based on the damage it took over time. And by the end of the film, there were 22 different versions of the Gypsy Jaeger that had to be built in order to create all different shots in the film. You see, at one part of the film, the Jaeger lost its arm. Its head was open. On top of that, it received lots of scratches and minor damages, and oil spilled all over its body. So as you can imagine, there were different states and different assets that required being created depending on different scenarios. Animating the Jaegers was another monumental task. So given their enormous size, the animators had to carefully consider the weight and movement of these robots. Guillermo del Toro, the director of the film, was adamant that they should move slowly and deliberately, emphasizing their huge mass. The team used reference footage of heavy machinery, tanks, and cranes to understand how large objects move. Additionally, the animators had to balance the realistic mechanics with the need for dynamic and engaging fight scenes against the kaiju. Also, just keep in mind that before animating any character, whether it be human, an animal, or just a robot, they need to be rigged. And rigging is a process of adding bones and controllers that allow animators to move these characters. The interesting thing is that the Jaegers, are not like the average CGI character, where the body of the character can deform during the process of the animation, and a lot of parts can stretch and deform naturally. Plus, in organic characters, lots of details and mechanics of movements are hidden under the clothes or fur, let's just say. So the problem with rigging the Jaegers is that every mechanical piece had to move in a certain way and in a certain direction in a logical manner. For the rigging artists that worked on these giant and highly detailed robots, this was a nightmare. They had to think about how every mechanical piece moves, how they fit with each other at the same time, they can't cross each other. Especially where there is a lot of movements like the shoulders and the hip areas, they face a lot of challenges with a lot of moving parts. So all the different parts had to work and function with all the complex machinery underneath the armor. It was actually so complex to the extent that the team had to reiterate on the design, modeling, and rigging over and over again until they nailed it. Meaning if the animators couldn't move the shoulders properly in a realistic manner, for example, they had to go back to the design and modeling team to create something different until they agree on something that actually works. And this process was done multiple times between the different departments of design, modeling, and animation until they made it work. In fact, one of the rigging artists said that rigging the shoulders of the Jaegers kept him awake at night. So yeah, it was that difficult and stressful. To enhance the sense of scale and immersion, ILM made sure that their Jaegers integrated well with the environment to make them look more realistic. So when Jaegers walked through the cities or fought kaiju in the ocean, the interaction between digital elements and live action footage had to be seamless. So as you can imagine, special attention was paid to how water, debris, and lighting interacted with the Jaegers to make them feel part of the physical world. Take for example, simulation of water splashes, dust, and explosions were rendered in Houdini and other simulation software, because this is the best for this job, which helped to further ground the massive robots in the environments, whether it be in the sky, the ocean, or in the city. Also, the sheer size of the Jaegers meant that their movement had to be realistic. You know, they had to make them move slowly to look powerful, giant, and mighty. Creating one Jaeger was difficult enough, but Pacific Rim showcased several distinct Jaegers, and each had its own unique design, fighting style, and origin. According to the film, the Jaegers were built by different countries, and their designs reflected the cultural and strategic references of the nations. And now, I want to expand a little bit on that. First we had Gypsy Danger, which was piloted by Riley Bucket and Mako Mori. It was built by the United States. It's a classic, versatile Jaeger with a balanced fighting style, and it was equipped with a plasma cannon and a chainsword. During the film, it became central to the fight against the kaiju, and the Gypsy Danger had a humanoid, sleek design, and overall it was powered by a nuclear reactor, giving it the ability to survive even after an EMP attack. There was also Cherno Alpha, which is a Russian Jaeger piloted by a married couple, and these were Sasha and Alexis Kaidanovsky. It was one of the oldest and most powerful Jaegers still in operation. It has a bulky, heavily armored design with a thick, cylindrical head and tank-like aesthetics. It relied on brute force and heavy punches, and it also has a nuclear reactor, which makes it highly durable, although it is slower compared to the other Jaegers. Another one is the Crescent Typhoon, which is a Chinese Jaeger piloted by the Wei Tank triplets. It stands out for having 3 arms and being piloted by 3 people instead of just 2. It was designed for speed and agility, excelling in close-up combat with its spinning blades, and its red and black color scheme and sleek, modern design reflects its advanced technology and abilities. These are some of the examples of the Jaeger that exist in Pacific Rim, and most likely, each one of them got its own challenges during the process of design, modeling, and animation. But at the end, I have to say that ILM did a great job bringing these giant robots to life. And there you have it, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to this channel to receive more VFX videos and CGI videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.